Welcome to Live Life with Sean. I am your host, Sean Higgins. I'm a lifelong information security technology expert with a passion for speaking, coaching, and writing. In this podcast, I'm going to talk about what's going on in my life, and I'm hoping that by me talking about what's going on in my life, it will help you with whatever you're going through. This show is recorded live, and you are invited to add your questions to the discussion. If I do not get your questions during the show, I'll do my best to answer them on my blog or the future show. If you enjoy this content, please share it, subscribe to it, like it, and or leave a comment or question, as this will help others find this podcast. Thank you for joining me. And this week, I want to kind of continue on a bit of a discussion that I started in episode 20, entitled Deficit Myth, where I talked about a new paradigm shift on seeing what the deficit is. It was by Stephanie Kelton. It's a very good book. I recommend it. And in that podcast, I talked a bit about how companies are solely driven today to drive value for the shareholders. And I've always, believed, I won't say always. I have recently come to believe that, I'm not sure how recently, but I've come to believe that it can't just be driving value for the shareholders. I mean, believe there's three pillars to a corporation. There are the employees, there are the customers, and there are the shareholders. And I believe that they are really the three legs to a stool. And you can't balance a stool on just two legs or one leg. Well, maybe if you're very good, you can. And I hadn't found a way to help describe what I think is wrong until I heard a TED Talk by Nick Hanauer. The TED Talk is entitled The Dirty Secret of Capitalism and a New Way Forward. Excellent TED Talk. I recommend it. Nick describes himself as a capitalist, and he is one of the early investors in Amazon, made oodles of money. There's the 1% of the people. Nick considers him the 0.01% of the people. He's uber rich. And he started to take a look at the systems that we have in place today and start to really step back and see what is good and what is bad. And he describes it very well. So I'm going to try and describe what he talked about, adding some of my comments in. And, hopefully you'll understand. Over the past 30 years, the top 1% of people have gotten $21 trillion richer. Okay? The bottom 50% have grown $500 billion poor. And I've seen this, the gap between the people that have and the people that don't keeps getting wider, and it's harder to go from one to the other. And Nick put this as, we need a new economic system. Economics used to be for the people, to make lives better. And about 30 years ago, there was a big shift to what is called Neoliberal Economics. That's what Nick calls it. So that instead of trying to make everything better for everybody, it only worked to help make big corporations bigger and billionaires richer. The other point that he makes that was pretty interesting is that people believe economics is a science. And there's lots of cool mathematics. I should know, I minored in economics in university. And there was lots of cool mathematics. I think that's why I liked economics at the time. But economics is not just about theories and mathematics, it's social sciences and people's habits and spending habits and buying habits and stuff like that. So 30 years ago, the shift of economics to neoliberal economics believed a couple of these tenets: raising taxes kills growth. And this is really tied to trickle down economics. Tax the rich less, they have more money, they can create more jobs. And I, I admit, I used to believe that. I said, "Oh, great idea, give the rich more money, they'll create more companies, that'll create more jobs." And I'd like to say that it has worked, but look at the divide today. They keep getting richer and everybody else keeps getting poorer. Okay, it's not working. They also believe that government regulation is inefficient. This is a tough one for me to debunk because I do believe that the governments are inefficient. And that goes back to a belief that I picked up several years ago in talking about how governments spend money versus how you and I spend money. So I might still believe this one, but if we tie these in later on, it makes a little bit more sense. The other thing that neoliberal economics believes is that when you raise wages, you kill jobs. It's one or the other. The only thing that is really true about neoliberal economics is that it has created a huge inequality gap between the haves and the have-nots, and it's created instability in our politics, in our belief in democracy. Because as we drive the haves to the have-nots, we're dividing who can participate in the economy. We have believed for a long time that capital is important to the economy. But really, it's the people that are core to the growth of the economy. The more people you get involved, the better off it is. So, the three tenets of neoliberal economics, well, first off, they believe that what they believe is like physics. Okay. If you change any of these rules, you're breaking the laws of economics as if they were the laws of physics. Okay. Like gravity. You can't deny gravity. Okay. That's how deeply entrenched neoliberal economists are in their beliefs. So, the first belief number one, the market is an efficient equilibrium system. Wages go up, jobs go down. There's got to be a balance there. They believe this to no end. And what they believed is if you raise their wages, we're going to lose the jobs. And Nick cited an example in Seattle, probably about 2014 or so, 2014, 2015. Seattle raised the minimum wage to $15. Everybody was going bonkers, couldn't believe this. Restaurants were up in arms saying, we're going to go out of business. We can't afford to pay our people $15 an hour. And guess what happened? Yeah, of course. Instead of jobs going down, the jobs boomed, specifically in the restaurant industry. Okay. You have just given the bottom end people more money. Now, these people are now able to afford to go out to a restaurant. So what happens? Restaurants need to hire more people because they got more customers. They hire more people, they open more restaurants. The industry boomed. And I think this ties back into what I read by Andrew Yang talking about the war on normal people when he talks about universal basic income. You give people at the lower end more money, okay? They're going to spend it and probably spend it locally. They may get an extra $1,000 a month. They might be putting their kids in programs. What does that mean? Those people putting on the programs got to hire more people because they got more people to facilitate. When people have more money, businesses get more customers. And what do businesses have to do to keep those customers? Hire more people to make their product to sell to those customers. Think about that. You give that extra $1,000 to the wealthy, what are they going to do? Not a lot because they already have enough money. They're already spending it on what they want to spend it on. So get that money into the hands of people who really need it. The second tenet of neoliberal economics is the price of something is always equal to its value. And this, if you look at wages, your wage is equal to the value you provide to the company. But this is wrong. And I've seen this in my industry. Your wage is really equal to your negotiating skills. How good are you able to negotiate your wage? And when do you have the most negotiation power? When you get the job. And I've seen this where I've been a manager. People come to me, ask me for a raise. I have to go fight for a raise, and they have to go fight for a raise. And we make little incremental changes. I'm lucky to be in an industry where we have got, we can pay people well. But there are a lot of people who leave because they were able to negotiate something better at another company. And I know I have fallen under this trap as well, because I have always believed that I will get paid what the boss based on the value that I provide the company. And I know now this is flat out wrong. And I'm sure that my salary has been impacted by that. So let's not say the price is always equal to the value. The price is equal to what you can negotiate. The third tenet, and this speaks to how people react in society, is neoliberal economics believes we are all, every one of us, perfectly selfish, perfectly rational, and relentlessly self-maximizing. Think about this for a minute, okay? Look around the people at your company. Are they all in it for themselves? I'm sure there's a couple of people who are pretty selfish at your company because there's always so many. There's a certain number at any company. And think about that person for a moment. If that person was everybody you had to work with at your company, would you still be there? What we need in businesses is cooperation. We need to cooperate with the people we work with. You are not an expert in everything in your business. I know I am not. I need other people to help me complete the work that I need to complete. And if everybody was in it for themselves, I don't think we'd get anything done. This tenet has led to companies only caring about shareholder value. It has led to the tenet that greed is good. And look at where it has gotten us today. It has gotten us to where there is a big divide. We are pushing people out of the economy. And after listening to Nick, I am surprised that it is still functioning at times. But I'm worried about it. What Nick says is that we need to come up with a new economic system or new economic tenets or whatever you want to call it. He believes cooperation is important. Competition is important as well, but between cooperative companies. And he came up with five things, 5 tenets, whatever you want to call them. I'm calling them tenets. I don't know if he called them tenets, but first off, what he said is that economies are gardens, not jungles. What's the difference here? Think about it. A garden needs to be tended. Your roses aren't just going to come up by themselves. You got to weed and care for them and fertilize them. You're got to plant certain things next to each other. I don't know anything. Okay. When it comes to gardens, I'm labor. Okay. I enjoy the gardens, but I don't understand how it works. I know that it takes work to make gardens look pretty. Jungles, on the other hand, they just grow. Okay. They're unconstrained. They just grow, and that's the way we have tended to our economy. We have tried to pull everything away and just let it go. The economy will take care of itself. That has got us into the situation where we are with climate change. That got us into the financial collapse of 2008, just to name a few. Okay. We need to tend the economy to make sure there is cooperative competition. Number 2, inclusion creates economic growth. The economy needs more people. The more people in the economy, the better. Because who buys the goods? People buy goods. And if people don't have money, people can't buy goods. So the more people we get into the economy, the better the economy will grow. Number 3, purpose of a corporation is to enrich customers, employees, shareholders, and the community. And as I stated at the beginning of this talk, I believed the corporation needed to enhance customers, employees, and shareholders. And that's what I thought is the only thing they need to do. But as I sat and thought about what Nick said to help the community, I realized that really companies are in some areas, the company is the lifeblood of a community. There are many communities where they were steel towns, and the steel industry left, and they're a ghost town. And that is because, and I think companies were just trying to maximize values, maximize shareholders. And they have to remember, they've got their customers, they've got their employees, they've got their shareholders. They're all important to the business. They also need to be good stewards in the community that they're in. So we've got to mix them together. The fourth tenet is greed is bad. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. It's just greed is bad. The fifth tenet that Nick talks about is that the laws of economics are a choice. They're not a science. They're not the laws of physics. Okay? Gravity exists. You can't deny that. You can't fight it. Well, you can fight it, but it's there. You can't suspend it. The laws of economics are more of an art versus a science because there is some mathematics involved, but there's also some psychology involved. It's how do people interact if they're in the neoliberal economics. They believe people were selfish. I believe people are more cooperative than selfish. They want to help one another. Well, not everybody, but people generally want to help each other. So it's an interesting way to look. And I like this because it ties together for me that I believed that the corporation was more than value for the shareholder. I believed it needed customers, it needed employees. I was listening to another one of Nick's talks, and he was saying, how many companies have outsourced the CEO, sent it overseas, got rid of a CEO? Interesting thought. Thanks for joining me. I hope this has been helpful for you. I've really enjoyed learning about this new thoughts on economics because it's been tinkering around in my brain and just kind of like, okay, like the universal basic income, the debt myth, this just is helping me form new thoughts where I knew they were there, but I couldn't put words to them. So I thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Look at, if you like this show, share it, subscribe it, like it, leave a comment or question. This will help others find it. I've thoroughly enjoyed the comments that you've sent my way. They've help me continue my thinking and some thoughts. And I've had some interaction with some people over these thoughts. So keep the comments coming. Look, if you want to book a coaching session with me, go to my website, SeanChiggins.com. There's a Connect with Sean page. Fill out your information and let's talk. Let's connect. Thanks for joining me again. And until next week, have a wonderful week.